Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome into Missing PNW Crimes Revisited. I am Samantha, and it is Friday, May 16th, 2025. Wow, it has been a day. I hope everybody's enjoying their Friday. Thank you guys all for coming in and joining me today to support Kyron Horman and his family. I am so very excited to bring you guys new information, new movement in Kyron Horman's case. It has not ever been so exciting to talk about Kyron. Who do we got in the house? Hair curlers and crime. Thank you so much for coming in. Best name on the YouTube streets and my beautiful moderator. We've got Juniper's Tarot and Astrology here. Carol loves embroidery and crime shows. Pam Bogle is in the house. Thank you for joining us, hun. Julia is here. Hello. Lynn is here. Thank you so much for joining. Brandy and Indy is here. Baby kisses. Rhonda. Prettiest Esther. So good to see everybody. RKB. And who else do we got? Rhonda. Thank you for joining. Not a Drama Nana is here. We got Be Great 88 in the house. Tim Blanche. Hello. Good to see you, Susie. Leslie, Let's Keep It Real in the house. We got Rebecca. Bo. So many people here. Thank you guys all for coming. Thank you guys for being here. Seashell in the house. Amanda in the house. We are going to have a great live on Kyron Horman. So many people have been sharing his story recently because of the new developments in Kyron's case. Kelly Dime in the house. Good to see you, love. Robin York Groom. Rebecca. It's going to be a good live. If you guys haven't followed Kyron's case, Kyron vanished June 4th of 2010 from his school, Skyline Elementary in Northwest Portland, Oregon. He was attending his school science fair with his 18-month-old baby sister and his stepmom, Terry Horman, whose last name is now Nathan Vasquez. She was the last known person to see Kyron. Terry Horman said after walking through the school and looking at science fair projects that she stood in the hallway and watched Kyron walk to his classroom. She said that the last thing she remembers is seeing the back of Kyron's head. Now, Kyron was missing for over 6 hours and wasn't on the bus when Kane Horman, Kyron's dad, Terry Horman, and the baby went to his bus stop at 3:30 p.m. The school was called and Kyron had been marked absent. The school didn't call Kane or Terry about his absence because Terry Horman said he had a doctor's appointment. A doctor's appointment that we now know never existed. And after further investigation by law enforcement, we did learn that there was no doctor's appointment. There were witnesses, including Kyron's own bus driver, Kyron's friend Carson, and Carson's grandmother and baby sister all said they saw Kyron walking through the parking lot of Skyline School, and they were walking in the direction of the Horman truck that Terry was driving that day. Now, none of Terry's accounts for that day added up. She changed her story multiple times, and sometimes she changed her story multiple times in a day. And her friend, Dee Dee Spicer, Terry and her friend, Dee Dee Spicer, have been the focus for law enforcement for 15 years, even though they've never been named suspects or person of interest, which isn't unusual in Oregon State. They usually do not name anybody as suspects or a person of interest until they make an arrest. Both Dee Dee and Terry were missing for the same unaccounted time that day with no alibis. Now, Terry got a high-profile attorney just a few weeks after Kyron's disappearance and hasn't spoken to law enforcement since. But she did go on the Dr. Phil show, and she spoke with People magazine in 2016, spinning narratives about what happened to Kyron. Terry Horman in the beginning, shortly after he disappeared with just in days, failed 2 polygraphs and walked out on the 3rd. Terry also tried to have Kane unalived in 3 different murder-for-hire plots, and the last one was the Friday before Kyron's disappearance. Terry was given a chance by a judge during the custody battle after Kane got a restraining order and went into hiding with her daughter. She was given a chance to have visitation with her daughter, but the judge said she had to talk about Kyron and what happened to him that day, where she was, and she refused to do what the judge wanted her to do, so she hasn't seen her daughter in 15 years. Kane and Desiree, the parents of Kyron Horman, believe Terry Horman knows what happened to their son. Now, Kyron's case is full of layers, and this is just a brief glimpse into Kyron's case. And here at Missing PNW, I believe, after years of research and case studies, that Terry Horman Vasquez and Dee Dee Spicer know exactly what happened to Kyron on June 4th, 2010. And new evidence from burner phones that Terry and Dee Dee used on June 4th, the day that Kyron disappeared, were surfaced when Dee Dee Spicer led the police to where those burner phones were. They were found, and they have been stored as evidence for 15 years. And around 3 years ago is when we believe that the evidence, photos that were found on those phones, has what sparked this huge new interest in Kyron's case by the FBI and the new eyes on the case. And I just truly believe that that is exactly why we're here today. There has been a lot of new movement. And it's just crazy to see that after 15 years, June 4th will actually mark 15 years that Kyron's case is actually starting to push forward. And I want to bring you guys all up to date on Kyron's case and tell you more about these burner phones and provide you guys all of the wonderful news that is happening in Kyron's case and in the movement. So Terry Horman was Kyron's stepmother. She was married to Kane Horman. And Dee Dee Spicer was Terry Horman's best friend. So, wow. I'll be doing an all-day live event for Kyron on June 4th. So keep a lookout. Hit the notification bell. Everybody give a thumbs up, please. And, you know, help this get out into the YouTube streets so that we can bring awareness for Kyron. It's so hard to bring awareness for a case that is 15 years old. So please hit that thumbs up. Please share Kyron Horman. I want to talk about an event that Desiree Young is having on June 1st, 2025. Desiree Young posted the event not long ago after all this new information came out. She named it For the Love of Kyron. We will be in Portland to honor Kyron for the 15-year mark. Please come out and support our mission to find and bring him home. We will be at Skyline Elementary on June 1st. Stop by and say hi. That is at 7 p.m. This is a candlelight vigil. I will be there. I'm going to go up to the school, and I may even be able to go live from up there during the vigil. So I hope you guys will all join me. I just got to check to see if I have any service up there. And this is another post by Desiree Young. She says June 1st, 7 p.m. We'll be having a candlelight vigil at Skyline Elementary School to honor Kyron. We hope to see the community come and support our mission to find him and bring him home. Flameless candles will be provided. Please bring a camping or folding chair. We will be sharing stories, photos, videos, and light a candle for Kyron. Let's show Kyron how much he is loved. Hope to see you all there. We will have limited pocket hugs to hand out. Make sure to get yours. We will also have bracelets and pins. She makes these wonderful little pins that has Kyron's face and Kyron's name on them. Come say hi, honor Kyron, and say hi to me. She is a very lovely woman. I met her last year at Kyron Horman's car wash while we were throwing an event to pass out flyers the same day. And let me tell you, our event for passing out flyers, we eventually had to stop hanging up flyers because all around Skyline School and in the area there in Beaverton was covered. We could not put up any more flyers. We couldn't find room to put up any more flyers. My event this year, like I said, is just going live for Kyron all day. I did that last year. I also did it on his birthday, September 9th. I will be doing that for him again. Many Facebook groups have been sharing. These are the pocket hugs that have been made. They've been sharing Kyron Horman, Missing Kyron Horman. Also posted that bracelets, buttons, pocket hugs will be available for the Love of Kyron Candlelight Vigil on Sunday, June 1st, 7 p.m. Kyron's mother, Desiree Young, will be hosting a candlelight vigil at Skyline Elementary School to commemorate Kyron and the mission to bring him home. And these are just a few little pictures of what they're going to have there on June 1st. It's so glad to see so many people here. I just really wanted to bring some awareness to Kyron and his case today. Like I said, I'm super excited. I haven't done a live on Kyron in a while because my focus has been on Michael Joseph Vaughn lately, who came up missing out of Fruitland, Idaho on July 27th of 2021. This is another post by Kyron Horman, World Soldiers, talking about For the Love of Kyron, another Facebook group that advocates for Kyron. She's also very close to Desiree Young. Again, these are the pocket hugs that will be available. And then Desiree Young also wrote something out on Mother's Day as the 15th marker of Kyron being missing approached. I realized that some of our frogs in the pad, she's got Kyron's pad. It's a garden where she goes to visit and talk to Kyron. Our frogs in the pad were rusted out, not well, so we upgraded them. I love them so much. I hate that I am here for another Mother's Day without Kyron, but I do get to go out in the backyard and think of him while I sit on my bench. This year, We will put a new trail lesson lights. It's looking great for Kyron. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. Hope you celebrate your strength and have you have with your children today. And then these are just a little video that she had put up on her Facebook. She got a new tattoo recently. Frogs and green and blue hearts are what they use, what Kyron's parents used to represent Kyron. It was very exciting to see her do so much work out in her garden and just see everything that she has done. You know, 15 years is a long time not to have your son. I can't imagine that her Mother's Day was very great. She does have another son named Quinn, who is older now, who recently got married. And, you know, she's talked about the fact that Kyron is missing all of these things. He even wasn't there when Desiree got remarried shortly after Kyron disappeared. Like I said, this is just her beautiful garden that she's been doing for several years for Kyron. Leslie says that she hopes she can make it to the event. She lives in the Columbia River Gorge. It would be great. I know that Desiree Young would be thankful for anybody that came to that candlelight visual. This is a flyer that came out in August of 2010. These pictures are of Terry Horman in the second row and Dee Dee Spicer. These are the two people that have been the main focus of Kyron's disappearance for the last 15 years, but not named suspects or person of interest. And the truck up above is the Horman truck that was used by Terry the day that Kyron disappeared and the day before Kyron disappeared, which I find a little suspicious considering she did not use the truck very often. And there is a picture here I want to share with you, and Desiree Young talks about the last picture taken of Kyron Horman.
Maybe the picture had been taken before.
Nope, I know for sure, 100%. The picture was taken in the school. It's GPS. It's confirmed. It's verified. We know exactly what time she took the picture, where she was at, and it's confirmed with technology. So she was in the school at 8:45 taking that photo of Kyron in front of his exhibit. I know that she left the school. She left with Kyron. And we have eyewitnesses that place them outside the school en route to the truck. It's from that point where it gets unknown.
This is the last picture ever taken of Kyron Horman by Terry Horman. Kyron disappeared, like I said, on June 4th of 2020 or 2010. So if you have any information about Kyron or his whereabouts or any information to provide to Multnomah County Sheriff's Office tip line, please call the tip line at 503-988-0560. The reason why Terry talks about this picture being taken at 8:45 is because Terry Horman has tried to spin a narrative that she took this picture earlier. Kyron Horman was not seen after 8:50 a.m. in the morning and was missing for almost 6 hours. 6 hours. And we all know in a missing child's case, that is a long time for a child to be gone and nobody know it. And it was all because Terry Horman lied about there being a doctor's appointment. She emailed the teacher a week prior to Kyron's disappearance. She wrote a letter to the teacher during the week about the doctor's appointment and then spoke to the teacher Kyron's teacher the day he came up missing to remind her about the appointment. Desiree Young had to sign a disclosure form for law enforcement the day that Kyron came up missing so they could look into this doctor's appointment, and immediately they found out there was no doctor's appointment ever. And then Terry tried to change her story and say, no, it was for the following Friday. But after further investigation, we know no picture or no doctor's appointment at all. And that this picture was taken sooner rather than late, or later rather than sooner, according to Terry. It's just a very sad story. It really is. I want to bring you guys up to date on information. I have a ton of information. So I'll be looking at chat and try to talk with you guys about the case. Minnie Pather says, how and when did they get Spicer to give up burner phones? The burner phones, she led law enforcement to them, I believe, in August of 2010. They were found and kept. Dee Dee Spicer thought she had destroyed those phones. And 3 years ago, new technology was able to find information on those phones. So let's talk about Dee Dee Spicer. Let's talk about these phones. This is an interview. Let me see. Before I go any further, I also want to let you guys know I was contacted this last week by Shelby, who is a reporter for KATU News. And after our conversation, she asked me if I would like to talk about Kyron to her. She's going to be talking to her producers to see if they want to add anybody else to their 30-minute special that's happening on June 4th. I agreed. And so I may or may not be sitting down with a reporter to talk about Kyron, and that's really exciting. She wants somebody from the community to talk about Kyron. And yes, Kelly, Kyron's backpack and his jacket was left in the classroom. And it was a ruse to keep his backpack there so that when Kyron came up missing, she could try to spin her own narrative like, what do you mean you guys didn't call us? What do you mean he's gone? Like, here's his coat. Here's his backpack here at the school. Why would you guys think not to call anybody when he was marked absent? Huge ruse on Terry's part. Terry also, later that day, washed that backpack and jacket, and also washed every stitch of clothing that Kyron owned. We're talking his clothes in the closet, clothes in his drawer, and his bedding. And it was all so that dogs could not pick up a scent early on in Kyron's disappearance. Desiree Young talked about this at the Crime Fest Northwest in August of 2024. I'm going to play a clip right now. This is Desiree Young talking to Doug Bishop about Dee Dee Spicer.
Ruled out every single possible other person except one. I should say two. Terry's friend, Dee Dee Spicer. You don't get Dee Dee without Terry. Mm-hmm. In fact, they've had a personal relationship physically. Oh. As far as I'm aware, Dee Dee was 2 miles from the school on Germantown Road, working at a property where she was landscaping for them. She was also missing during the same period of time that Terry was. The people on the property always have lunch together in their central location, and they were trying to locate her, and she was missing.
Okay.
And they tried calling her, and she didn't answer. Her phone was on the property. Her car was on the property, but Dee Dee was nowhere to be found, and they looked everywhere. It's our understanding through information I've had turned over to me during searches that she was picked up by Terry from her job on that property. In the DA's office, they believed at the time that they could get her to flip on Terry. Several weeks later, they made an agreement with Dee Dee Spicer for immunity. Here's the problem with that. As you're investigating, you're getting evidence, you're obtaining new information, new interviews, all the things, right? And now, today, what we can say is there's physical evidence that is involving her. From what I understand, Dee Dee Spicer said Terry was using throwaway phones and had loaded it with minutes and was using that to communicate with people. They were able to acquire the phones. Dee Dee took them where they dumped them. I don't know when the phones were dumped. They got access to them a couple of weeks after Kyron went missing. There's communication connected to photos that were stored on the phone that is the physical evidence in the case. It's all things that imply guilt. It's all things showing conceal and lie and deceit. All of it is circumstantial, which is unfortunate. And then she proceeds to plead the fifth. She doesn't want people to know what she is. And now that she has an immunity deal, we can never prosecute her.
And we're going to be talking more about this immunity deal because it's so exciting once we get into that information. It was a huge mistake that this was given to her by the DA, Reese. He did not use this immunity deal the way he should have. And Dee Dee feels like she's untouchable. And she is not untouchable. Law enforcement has been able to get information, not only communication, but after this interview, Desiree Young talks about photos, which we are also going to get to. Lots of information today. So please keep up. Yeah, it is. It is pretty strong circumstantial evidence that she has. And now those phones have produced something. Here is some more information about the phone and the search regarding those burner phones that were found that Dee Dee Spicer led law enforcement to.
Kyron, and the renewed effort today to find clues related to the missing boy. K2's Bob High is live up in Northwest Portland, where he caught sight of search crews once again today. Bob?
Yeah, I know we're about 4 miles from the school where Kyron disappeared. Skyline School was last seen. Searchers swept this area not long after Kyron disappeared, but this is the first time they've been back to this area here, and they spent the past 2 days searching areas along 2 roads west of Skyline Boulevard. We found crews searching steep, heavily forested areas along Old Germantown Road this afternoon. Some areas are so steep that teams had to rappel down cliff faces in order to cover the ground completely. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office would only confirm that the search is related to the Kyron Horman case, and that crews are following up on tips related to the missing boy. Neighbors we talked with say officers went door to door interviewing residents, asking many of the same questions they were asking shortly after the search first began.
All they did is they came to the door and said they were with search and rescue this morning and wanted permission to go on our land to check the streams.
That's great. If they have some information that leads to solving that, more power to them.
Yeah.
I have no idea why it would be here. We're not privy to any of the tips that they've gotten.
These pictures were taken by a neighbor this afternoon along Northwest Cornell Road. Some crews were using search dogs to go through forested areas along that road near Skyline Boulevard. Now, sources have told K2 News that authorities are checking information developed through Dee Dee Spicer, a friend of Kyron's stepmother, Terry Horman, but there's no indication yet exactly what those tips might involve, and no indication yet whether searching today or yesterday revealed anything of significance in the case. Live along Germantown Road near Skyline, Bob High, K2 News.
Interesting interesting to see that effort continuing. Bob, thank you.
So information that Dee Dee Spicer shared with law enforcement were text messages between her and Terry Horman. She also shared emails, and the search for the burner phones were done on Germantown Road, which is right around the corner from where Dee Dee Spicer was supposed to be working that day, but we know that she was missing from her job at West Wind Farms. West Wind Farms is located about 4 to 5 miles away from Skyline Boulevard. Very convenient that she was in the area around the time that Kyron disappeared. Those burner phones were searched for right around her job, Cornell and Cornelius Pass Road. So that was huge that these phones were even found. And like I said, that is why there's so much new movement. Technology, we know, gets better and better and better throughout the years, right? So huge mistake on their part. 1, for ever getting burner phones. 2, trying to destroy them. And 3, leading law enforcement to them and then being found and thinking nothing was ever going to come of it.
K2 News has learned the role prepaid cell phones are playing in the case. Multiple sources tell K2 News in the days after Kyron Horman moved out, Terry and 2 friends stayed in communication using such phones. At least one of them was purchased by Dee Dee Spicer, another by a second friend from an electronics store inside the Lloyd Center Mall. The friend admits to me she used a fake name to buy the phone. She says they were simply trying to have some privacy as they tried to help Terry find an attorney and felt their conversations were being monitored. As a practical matter, she says they also needed phones with AT&T coverage since their Verizon phones didn't have service at the Horman home, where they were all spending considerable amounts of time. What remains unclear is why 2 additional prepaid phones were purchased at another store in downtown Portland the next day, under the same fake name the friend used to buy hers at Lloyd Center. She tells me she knows those phones were paid for in cash, but she did not purchase them.
So that news clip is talking about more burner phones that were purchased at the end of June of 2010. 3 to 4 weeks after Kyron came up missing, more burner phones were bought because Dee Dee Spicer goes and stays with Terry Horman in the home. Kyron Horman had taken the baby and left after getting a restraining order. He went into hiding. He felt like he needed to protect her daughter or their daughter, and that's exactly what he did. And we found out about more burner phones that were bought, paid for in cash, and with fake names. And then Terry Horman has denied ever purchasing any phones or having anything to do with those phones being purchased. But they wanted to have conversations with each other while they were there. They would even go outside to communicate with each other because they thought that they were being listened to. How sketchy is all of that? How suspicious is all of that? And Dee Dee and Terry both try to say that they hadn't seen each other since March of 2010 when it was Terry Horman's birthday party. But here we have Dee Dee Spicer running to Terry's rescue 3 to 4 weeks after Kyron's disappearance. Bruce McCain was somebody that worked for Multnomah County Sheriff's Office who took over in Kyron. Well, they were the sheriff's office for Kyron's disappearance. They were also a search and rescue unit. They were the absolute best people to be put on Kyron's case, going through the entire, all of the rivers and everything else. Like if anything ever happened in the rivers or hiking or anything, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office was who got called for search and rescue. They had a team called the Green Hornets that was trained to look for people. in this area where Kyron disappeared, there is a rainforest right behind Skyline Elementary School where Kyron vanished from. So this is a very rural area, and Kyron didn't live in a house on a street where there are lots of houses, basketball hoops, you know, kids playing out on the street or anything else. He lived in a house down a gravel road and a steep hill to go up right off to the side of a rainforest. And Bruce McCain, the captain, at one point that worked with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, had something to say also about these burner phones.
Spicer was not reportedly very cooperative with the investigators, but when you put somebody under oath in a grand jury and a penalty of perjury, and perhaps even with the threat of additional prosecution for their own criminal conduct, that tends to squeeze information out. So it looks like Dee Dee's opening up. And again, these investigators, this is not a search and rescue. This is a forensic search for criminal evidence, more than likely something very specific that Dee Dee told them about. And it could even very well be one of these untraceable cell phones that they're trying to find.
If it is a cell phone that they are in fact looking for, how could that help tie Terry to this case?
Well, Chris, one of the biggest problems we've talked about before is just trying to make a connection between Terry Horman's involvement. If they can find these phones and use the great forensics that they have now to try to find out who Terry Horman was talking to immediately after June 4th or thereabouts, that might give them a tip as to where Kyron actually may be today.
So it's just, you know, it's baffling to me. It's frustrating to me that there have been no arrests in Kyron's case. But I do believe with the new evidence that this is going to be huge. I'm going to be sharing the new stuff here soon. I just want to bring you guys up to date on these burner phones. A lot of people don't understand that there was 2 different sets of burner phones. Matter of fact, 3, because even after they purchased them, like you heard in that news report, 2 more phones were purchased the day after phones were purchased at a mall in Portland, Oregon. And here you have Desiree Young saying that, let's see, absolutely, without a doubt, with all my heart, I know that Terry did it. I think she was working with 1 or 2 possible people, but absolutely she did it. We know at least Dee Dee Spicer. Yes, she was one of them. And I believe there's another one here. Desiree talks about also Dee Dee. This is a message directly to Dee Dee. Why use throwaway phones to call and talk to Terry on and after June 4th of 2010 if you have nothing to hide and you are innocent? Oh, and wait, that means you were in contact with Terry after March 2010. That's when Terry's birthday party was. So many holes in this story. I can't even keep up. And those are just the ones that are public information and we can talk about. So yeah, lots of information right there. And, you know, over the years, Desiree Young, she just gets more and more frustrated that her son hasn't been found. And she starts talking about the new stuff, all of the new stuff, because she's tired that the last district attorney, Mike Schmidt, knew there was information on these burner phones, and she, you know, he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. And it frustrated her to the point where she went and protested with people outside the DA's office shortly after that. And then we had the new sheriff, and Desiree sat down with the new sheriff and talked with the new sheriff. And during that interview, when it came out and it was reported that new searches started for Kyron, this was 3 years ago in 2022. New searches were started, and they weren't being done by Desiree Young. They were being done by Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, and that is huge because we hadn't heard that Multnomah County Sheriff's Office had been searching for Kyron and still doing searches for him until back in 2017 when the grand jury asked Multnomah County to go search Sauvie Island again, which is an island near the Kyron Horman home. And they searched, some more areas in 2019. But to hear just a few years ago that they were doing searches and that Desiree wasn't a part of them, because that's all she's done. Raise money, have car washes, and do everything she can to come up with the funds to search for her son. Searches all over the area, and many, many of them on Sauvie Island. So it was huge to hear that. And then over this last summer, she had her interview with Doug Bishop, where she talked more about the burner phones, there being communication on those burner phones that actually connected Dee Dee Spicer to Kyron's case, Kyron's disappearance. And then she went to Crime Fest Northwest in August of 2024, and this is what she had to say there. This is the shocking new information she put out because of frustration that no DA pushed forward. Thank God the new district attorney, Nathan Vasquez, started working on Kyron's case as soon as he became DA in January. He promised Desiree that that's what he was going to do, but she lit a fire under the asses of Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, and the new district attorney.
We ruled out all 400 parents that were in the school that day, all but Terry. We have ruled every sexual predator, every person in the neighborhood. We have ruled out every single person except Terry. She's the one that is not cleared. Yeah.
But if she made an arrangement with somebody.
And the thing with the fact that they ruled out everything, in the beginning, because of Terry's lies, because of her spinning a narrative that Kyron wandered away from the school, that there was some man off of Highway 30 at a 7-Eleven trying to ask about where the nearest school was, talking about the janitor of Skyline Elementary, talking about the groundskeeper, another man that lived on Sauvie Island, spinning all of these narratives. And here's the thing, a parent of a missing child doesn't know where their child is if they have no involvement in their child's disappearance. Terry had a decision to make. She could cooperate with police. She could get checked off that list of being a suspect, tell law enforcement everything, and work with them. But she failed polygraph tests, and she did not want to work with them. She just wanted to keep spinning the narrative about what happened to Kyron. A mother, a father, a step parent does not know where their child is, and they don't sit there and spin narratives about what could happen to their child if they have nothing to do with it. That's my personal opinion, because how could you know what happened to the child if he's just up, gone, vanished, and disappeared? You don't. Sauvie Island spelling is S-A-U-V-I-E. Sauvie Island. It's actually a very large island in Portland, Oregon. It's right along the Multnomah Channel. They did so many searches for Kyron there, and Terry Horman tried to spin a narrative that there were cameras on the Sauvie Island Bridge and that she was never seen crossing the bridge. That's what she said on the Dr. Phil show. I debunked that. I looked into that. I found out that there was no camera back in 2010 because they were doing new construction on the Sauvie Island Bridge. I talked to many different state, what is the word, like state highway patrol. I talked to a librarian who helped me look up information. I talked to Detective Tabor, which is the detective that works on Kyron's case. And I found out in Wikipedia, there's a picture of the camera from May 2010, the month prior to Kyron's disappearance, with no camera on that bridge. The camera actually didn't go back up on the Sauvie Island Bridge for almost 2 years after Kyron's disappearance. A huge blip in her story that she was never seen going over there. I mean, I just feel like you cannot spin a narrative if you do not know what happened to your child. But she came up with so many different stories. It started so many different rumors in Kyron's case that when I started looking into Kyron's case, researching and doing case studies when the pandemic started, my main mission for Kyron was to debunk every rumor I possibly could in Kyron's case with the help of my admins in my Facebook groups. They're amazing researchers, Heidi and Kaylia. Kaylia, you guys have heard on my show before talking about Kyron, and we were able to debunk so many rumors. I mean, I was even told that one of the people, this 7-Eleven man off of Highway 30, which Highway 30 runs by Sauvie Island, that Terry Horman tried to say had something to do with Kyron's disappearance. We looked into it. There was never even a report about a man being there at that 7-Eleven, and Detective Tabor told me personally that there was somebody up at the 7-Eleven being erratic and crazy, hanging out in the parking lot, but that happened several months before Kyron's disappearance. But let's finish listening to what else Desiree has to say here at the Crime Fest Northwest.
Online by
We never saw any evidence of that. We have evidence in the truck, the bed of the truck, physical DNA evidence. We have things missing from the house that she used. We have the injury to her leg from that day. We know that we have photos on those cell phones of.
We know we have photos from those cell phones. She's talking about those burner phones, and she's about to drop a bombshell.
You know, we have the picture of it.
We have a picture of it. She doesn't say what it is. She does not say what it is. But she's saying we have a picture of it.
We don't know where that picture was taken.
She's saying she does not know where that picture was taken, and that's because on a picture, you have the GPS location. I mean, they've been using geofencing to find this location where this photo that was found on the burner phones to look for Kyron. And in the background, there's a woman. Her name is Rebecca Morris. She's an author. She wrote the book, Boy Missing, The Search for Kyron Horman. She worked on this book with Desiree Young. Desiree Young talks about the case, talks about her own look and her own perspective of her son and, you know, Kyron's disappearance. It's a wonderful book. If you don't know Kyron's case, I would definitely, you know, read the book, get the Audible. You can get it on Kindle. It's available, but she's here with Desiree at this Crime Fest, and she's about to ask Desiree photos of Kyron after the school, and you can barely hear her, and that's why I want to tell you guys what Rebecca Morris said. And Desiree Young says yes. So, again, Rebecca Morris says pictures of Kyron after the school, and Desiree says yes.
the picture of Kyron after the school.
Yes.
And there you have it. Rebecca Morris asking, photos of Kyron after the school? Desiree says yes. Photos of Kyron were on these burner phones. It's been the biggest bombshell dropped by Desiree, by law enforcement, by anybody since Kyron's disappearance. This proves that Dee Dee Spicer and Terry Horman have involvement in Kyron's disappearance. Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt, there is now evidence linking Dee Dee Spicer and Terry Horman. And that's not just the good news. I have so much good news for you guys. I just want to continue bringing information, get you up to date, and then we're going to hear what Multnomah County Sheriff's Office has said, what the FBI has said, what the new DA has said. And since there's so much information, I'm just going to keep moving along. I see everybody in here asking questions. They've got, you know, your wow faces, and it's wow. I'm excited to be here today and bring this information to you guys because Kyron Horman has been a passion of mine for many, many years. He came up missing. I saw it the night he went missing on the news. His beautiful smile, his glasses, his big ears, like just the most beautiful, precious little boy, 7-year-old. And, you know, then you got monsters out there. I believe that Terry Horman wanted to get rid of Kane because they were rocky. They were talking about a divorce. Kane was making almost $14,000 a month and Terry was unemployed. She knew if they got a divorce that she was going to lose in court, not only because Oregon state judges aren't great about separating siblings. She had no money to take care of her daughter. She knew Kane was going to win custody of their daughter. So she tried to, you know, do those murder for hire plots. One of them being just a week prior to Kyron's disappearance. And when she couldn't get rid of Kane, well, I'll get rid of Kyron. Then I'll have my daughter. But then she wouldn't even talk about Kyron or his disappearance or anything like the judge wanted her to do to even have visitation for her daughter. She tried kidnapping her daughter from the gym a while after Kyron's disappearance when Kane went to the gym and left her in the daycare at the gym. Terry came to the gym and tried to kidnap her. That didn't work either. And this woman has done so much, you guys. There are so many layers. I have done so many lives to cover Kyron's case. I have went over custody court documents, divorce court documents, early news reports, later on news reports, People Magazine, Dr. Phil, you name it. If you want to know more about Kyron's case, like, I feel like I'm Kyron Queen. Just start going through all of the Kyron information that's here at Missing PNW. It's insane, the amount of layers in Kyron's case. Also, something else that Desiree talked about at the Crime Fest Northwest was the FBI's new, their new interest in Kyron's case. I want to put that up here real quick.
Yes, technology is always advancing. It helps us do our jobs better. And in our case, yes. So we've had advances in cell phone technology and some things from Google and some of that stuff that has helped us. It helps us get a step further, right? So we're always like, okay, there's another piece and another piece. And well, we already know this, but this confirms that other piece, right? And we still cannot get to the point where we can convince anybody with Multnomah County to do anything. Right now, we're waiting on Mike Schmidt. He won't do anything. So here she is talking about being frustrated with Multnomah
Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, and she's talking about the ODA, Mike Schmidt, not wanting to push forth in Kyron's case. How can a district attorney not want to push forward in a case when new technology, new evidence comes out about pictures on burner phones that Dee Dee and Terry used? How? And Mike Schmidt didn't at all cover one rape, one murder case or anything before he ever became a DA. I think that he was just into his politics and just wanted to collect a paycheck. He didn't want to do his job.
I'm waiting for him to leave, and hopefully the new DA is going to do something.
New DA now is Nathan Vasquez, and he is definitely doing something.
We've had new participation from the FBI, and they're showing new interest in our case. They are helping us do another case review, which is awesome. It's huge. They are compiling it, digitizing it, getting it ready for court,
And there you have her saying that they are digitizing information, compiling it, and getting it ready for court. That is the FBI's new interest in Kyron's case. They are helping. They've always been involved in Kyron's case. But with this new information, they have taken a bigger interest.
We have them thinking outside the box, right? So participating in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that that's critical because you have to pivot sometimes. And with the case stuff, we have a lot of circumstantial evidence, but we also have some physical evidence, but we don't have Kyron. And you have this resistance in law enforcement to prosecute a missing child case for whatever reason when you don't have the child. And I keep falling back on this one thing, right? Kyron relied on one person that day. One person. That was the one person who's responsible for his disappearance. That's it. That's where we're back to. He was in the classroom, he got his picture taken, and he walked out the school, witnessed by everybody. He walked out with Terry Horman. He didn't come back. That's where it lies. It's that simple.
It is that simple. Kyron's own bus driver was a witness to Kyron walking away towards the Horman truck. And that's huge because a bus driver that picks him up every day, drops him off every day, knows his face, is familiar with Kyron, sitting up tall in a bus, facing in the direction of the road where they were walking to, saw it all. The thing is the bus driver that was driving the bus later that afternoon was a sub bus driver. So there's Terry supporters out there that want to say things like, well, then why didn't the bus driver tell Terry and Kane that day? I saw Kyron leaving with Terry this morning. Well, it wasn't the same bus driver. So now I'm going to bring you guys some new news. This is some new news, and it is amazing. I'm going to need to share my screen real quick. This is from the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. Renewed collaboration and commitment in Kyron Horman case ahead of the 15th anniversary of his disappearance. As the 15th anniversary of Kyron Horman's disappearance approaches, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office and law enforcement partners partners are reaffirming their commitment to finding Kyron and pursuing justice. Over the past year, investigators have undertaken a significant effort to modernize and review the case through a renewed collaborative approach. The MCSO and Gresham police detectives are working to digitize and reorganize the entire case, which is something that needed to be done because Detective Tabor and I had a conversation, and he told me that when he became detective, everything, all of Kyron's files and everything had been put into a computer, and nothing was filed correctly. Nothing was organized. Nothing had like points of interest or anything. Everything was just crammed into the computer. And he said that the one thing that he had to do was get this all organized before he could even start working on Kyron's case, besides looking into new tips that were coming in. So this also says this means scanning and documenting thousands of pages of reports, photos, and evidence. This is the big part. When the case is digitized, the file will be re-examined by the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavior Analysis Unit. The BAU is a unit within the National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime that uses behavioral analysis to assist in criminal investigation by analyzing statements, narratives, and evidence, performing psychological and behavioral analysis, and offering investigative recommendations based on patterns from similar historic and current cases nationwide. Kyron is a no-body case. The fact that they're going to have a behavior analysis look over this is huge, huge. Like they're going to take over. These steps lay the foundation for a fresh and comprehensive review of the entire investigation. In the coming months, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office detectives will meet with Multnomah County District Attorney Nathan Vasquez and his team for further evaluation. Wow. Huge, huge coming from Multnomah County Sheriff's Office that they are digitizing this and getting it all together for the FBI to take over. And now I want to share a news update. Yes, we love the BAU. Definitely have enough evidence to charge this witch. Absolutely. Rogue, thank you for coming in, hun. I see so many people coming in and commenting, but like I said, I have a lot of information to share. So let's keep sharing this information. This is a news broadcast that was shared by, which one is this? The renewed effort.
They're still looking. And Desiree and her friends and...
This is Rebecca Morris. The picture of the book is right there. Boy Missing, the Search for Kyron Horman.
The thousands of people on Facebook pages, thousands who keep, Kyron in their lives.
Now at 5, a renewed effort to find Kyron Horman. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office taking new steps to finally bring a resolution to the case. Good evening. Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Reich Yazaway. This comes nearly 15 years since the young boy vanished. K2's Shelby Slaughter has been tracking the case closely. And Shelby, you just spoke to that author about her work on this case.
Yeah, right. I was actually just texting her and Kyron's mom, and it's efforts and updates just like this that give renewed hope for the case and hope that we will soon find Kyron.
This is the last known picture of Kyron Horman, seen in this exact outfit at Skyline Elementary School. Hundreds of family members had come to see the science fair that day.
There was no kind of check-in system for people coming into the school. It was just wide open, which means it was really an opportunity for somebody to take a child.
Rebecca Morris is the author of Boy Missing. She tells me there were hundreds of people in and out of the school that day, and no one knew Kyron was missing until he didn't come home.
At 3:30 that afternoon, Terry and the baby and Kane walked down to the bus stop to meet Kyron, and he had not been on the bus.
Now, 15 years later, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office still has not been able to find him or make an arrest.
It would be nice to have some kind of update, and I know they call it an open case.
Today, investigators announcing a renewed effort to find justice, saying they're working to digitize and reorganize the entire case. That means scanning and documenting thousands of pages of reports, photos, and evidence, and using new software, digital forensics, and technology to examine both new and existing leads. Multnomah County Sheriff Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell releasing this statement, saying, quote, "We have never stopped searching for Kyron. We remain steadfast in our commitment to bring resolution to this case, for Kyron, for his family, and for the community. With the support of our partners and the public, we are actively pursuing every credible investigative opportunity."
And there is a $50,000 reward for any information leading to a resolution in this case. Reporting live in Portland, I'm Shelby Slaughter, KT News.
Shelby, thank you for that. Kyron Horman was last seen at Skyline Elementary School on June 4th, 2010. At the time, he was 7 years old. Investigators have released age progression photos over the years showing what he might look like today. They say every year they receive hundreds of tips that are reviewed and considered for follow-up. Kyron's family will hold a vigil next month to mark 15 years since he disappeared. It will be held at Skyline Elementary School on June 1st, starting at 7 p.m. They invite the community to attend. Also,
they are going over the entire case. The entire case. Do you know how big that is? To finally have new interest, people looking at this case and looking over the entire case, digitizing it, compiling it, everything, and hand it over to the FBI and the BAU. Once that's done, and there's a huge reason for it. I think it's all a strategic move. We're going to get into that. I want to share another clip from another news. I believe this one is from KGW, who has worked very, very hard in Kyron's case.
Years after 7-year-old Kyron Horman disappeared from a Portland elementary school, law enforcement tell us they are making new efforts to solve the case. Catherine Cook's in the newsroom with a look at their new strategy. Catherine?
David, it's all about how investigators will soon be able to view Kyron's case file, thousands of pages of it. It's all getting digitized, giving the FBI a fresh review of the whole investigation.
It's the photo burned into so many hearts and minds. 7-year-old Kyron Horman, the day he disappeared from Skyline Elementary School. It was June 4th, 2010. Kyron's stepmom, Terry Horman, took the picture at the school's science fair that morning. But that afternoon, the second grader never got on his school bus and has been missing ever since. Even now, 15 years later, nothing, despite a massive and ongoing investigation. Kyron's biological mother, Desiree Young, does what she can to remain hopeful.
There's bad days and there's good days, and I struggle because it's loss. It's not having my son here. It's every time we have an event or every time my older son got married, Kyron's missing out on all of that, and it's sad.
But what's missing from this case? It's a question new investigative efforts may help answer. Over the past year, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office and Gresham Police have been digitizing Kyron's case file. That's thousands of pages, photos, and evidence scanned and reorganized into modern form. When it's finished, the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit will re-examine the case. They'll perform psychological and behavioral analysis of the file, comparing it to similar cases nationwide. Based on any patterns they find, they'll offer new investigative recommendations. Multnomah County DA Nathan Vasquez says his office has begun reviewing the case with fresh eyes, saying, quote, "We look forward to receiving further analysis from the Sheriff's Office and the FBI. Our focus remains where it has always belonged, on Kyron and his family."
So again, there you have more news saying what they are doing in Kyron's case, which is digitizing it, compiling it, getting it ready, the whole entire thing. The FBI will be sharing information with Nathan Vasquez. And if you guys are wondering exactly what it's consisting of in Kyron's case to go over his files, I have something else I want to share with you guys, because this is going to show you Kyron Horman's, what they called a WAR room. A WAR room. It's where they kept 71 binders. And this was back in 2012. 71 binders, 4 inches thick, full of information on Kyron's case. And then we're going to get into Doug Bishop, who he is, what he's been doing to help Desiree Young. So much information, you guys. I want to add this up. This is from America's Most Wanted interview with Kyron Horman. I believe like 11 months, maybe a year after Kyron's disappearance, maybe even sooner. I'm not sure, but let me share this with you guys real quick.
Kyron was reported missing and sparked an investigation and a search and rescue process that was unprecedented in Oregon, involved thousands of people, tens of thousands of hours of investigation and search and rescue time.
Weeks went by with no sign of Kyron, and pretty soon, all sights were set on his stepmother, Terry.
Terry Horman was the last person that we know of that saw Kyron at 8:45 on June 4th, 2010. Initially, Terry Horman was cooperating with our investigators fully and was communicating with them. And approximately 28 days into the investigation, she hired an attorney and stopped talking to us altogether.
Kane says Terry failed 2 polygraphs and walked out on a 3rd. It wasn't long after Terry stopped cooperating when investigators dropped a bombshell on Kane.
And then we got briefed on the murder for hire plot that they had discovered while looking at some of the people associated with the case.
It was shocking news for Kane. Terry allegedly tried to hire a landscaper to kill him.
And they now know that it wasn't just one landscaper. There were multiple murder for hires. She actually even had another murder for hire plot on her ex back in 1990. And Terry's ex-boyfriend, I have spoken to, even told me that Terry Horman asked him to unalive one of Kyron Horman's advocates from Kyron Horman World Soldiers back in 2015, 2016 time. So this isn't something recent for her. She has lost her mind. I don't know how she is still walking free.
Kane quickly got a restraining order and filed for divorce. When the couple split, Terry turned her back on their young daughter, Kira, and has not seen her child in more than 2 years.
And she still hasn't seen her daughter. And right here I'm pausing. This is a picture of Kane standing next to a Multnomah County Sheriff's officer, and look at all those binders on that shelf. This is the room that they had for Kyron and his case. That is 71 binders full of Kyron Horman investigation. And this was back in 2012. There are 12 more years, 13 more years of investigative leads, tips, everything coming in. So if you can imagine how much work law enforcement has to digitize this, we found a report in 2023 when law enforcement started talking about digitizing Kyron's case and getting it together. So they've been doing this for a few years, which just so happens to be the same year that these photos were found on these burner phones. It's all connected to these burner phones. And I know law enforcement is working hard to find Kyron, find this location that these photos of Kyron, these photos of it in parentheses, because Desiree says they have a photo of it, or we have a photo of it, not knowing what it is. It could be the burial site. It could be of Kyron alive, of Kyron unalive. We don't know. We're not privy to that information. But this is the WAR room, and they have a lot of work ahead of them. But 2025 is definitely the year that justice for Kyron starts now. It's starting right now.
With more than 5,000 leads, 60,000 investigative hours, and 71 investigative binders, Kane has not given up, and he will never give up. From the moment he wakes up until the time he goes to bed, Kane is figuring out ways to keep the word out about Kyron.
Kane Horman has started the Kyron Horman Foundation. They sponsor Michael Joseph Vaughn, who came up missing out of Fruitland, Idaho in July 27th of 2021. That's why I took a great interest in Michael Vaughn, and he has never stopped. He not only has the Kyron Horman Foundation, he also sets up tables in random different places to advocate for his son, to pass out flyers, and he also does identification kits for children, and has never stopped believing that his son is alive. Kane holds a lot of guilt about Kyron's disappearance because he noticed changes in Terry Horman in months prior to Kyron's disappearance, saying that Terry Horman, he was having to fight for Kyron all the time because Terry and her punishments with all of the kids in the house was just horrible. He even came out and said at one point that he believed his daughter Kiara had witnessed some unimaginable horror the day that Kyron Horman disappeared. And in the book Boy Missing, Desiree Young told Rebecca Morris about how Kiara, the day that Kyron came up missing later on that night, she didn't want to go to her mom, Terry. She wanted nothing to do with her. She wanted all the other adults in the house. She wasn't acting herself. I don't want to use the word like Kiara was scared, but she was definitely not wanting anything to do with her mom. Kane Horman came out later on and said that he saw a huge change in Kiara after him and Terry's divorce, and how Kiara just kind of like came alive because Terry Horman had been taking antidepressants and drinking all the time. We know those two things don't mix. She also said she was suffering from some kind of postpartum depression, and Kiara was only 18 months old. Now, is this an excuse for her to lose her mind and do something to Kyron Horman? Hell no. But there were a lot of changes going on, and Kane was starting to really see and notice everything. That's why there were all these discussions about divorce, the ones that were scaring the hell out of Terry, that made her decide, I'm going to do something about it. I'm not losing my daughter. But then if you love your daughter so much, Terry, why not tell the judge? Why not talk about Kyron and what happened that day so that you can get visitations for your daughter? Instead, she completely didn't want to do anything and has never seen her daughter again since.
Kane has organized a campaign to keep Kyron's name out in the public eye, and he's been at some sort of event every weekend.
You know, a lot of people want to ask, like, so why weren't the murder for hires, you know, charged? Well, if they would have started working on the murder for hires, you know, they may have had to talk about Kyron's case. It's kind of like the lawsuit that Desiree Young tried against Terry Horman to, you know, bring information on Kyron. She tried to do this lawsuit, and then she found out that if she did this lawsuit, that they were going to have to talk about Kyron's case in such detail that it would actually and could hurt Kyron's case later on in the future. And it was the same with Kane Horman's murder for hire plots. On top of that, they wanted to use these murder for hire plots in Kyron's case because Kane is also a victim. He has been called a victim. Now I want to share with you what the new DA has said, which is huge. He came out and spoke to Shelby. That is the news reporter from KATU that I also spoke to this last week. And this is what Shelby said he had to say during her interview with Nathan Vasquez, the new DA that just started in January. Desiree Young and the entire Kyron community worked very, very hard to advocate for Nathan Vasquez to get him into office because he promised Desiree Young that if he made it in, he was going to work hard on Kyron's case.
Here at K2 News, and coming on here to talk to you about the Kyron Horman case. We're just a few weeks away from the 15-year anniversary from when Kyron went missing at Skyline Elementary School. Well, now the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office is saying they're taking a closer look at the case. I want to read you guys a statement that I got from Nathan Vasquez this morning. Take a listen. I want to reaffirm my continued commitment to this case. When I met with Desiree Young as the incoming district attorney, I assured her that open communication would be a priority. My office has begun a thorough and methodical review of the case with fresh eyes. This is a painstaking process involving tens of thousands of pages of reports, records, and other evidence. We have a dedicated team assigned to the case, and I'm now being regularly briefed on its current status and what steps may follow.
Nathan Vasquez says we have a dedicated team assigned to the case. These are fresh, new eyes, which is needed in his case. I'm so excited to hear this. And he said, and now I'm being regularly briefed on its current status and what steps may follow. So not only is he being briefed by the eyes that he has on Kyron's case, but he's also going to be briefed by the FBI when they get the case and the BAU. And these are all giant, huge steps in Kyron's case. Like, this case is going to take the hell off. This case is definitely going to take off. So Doug Bishop, you know, he used to work for Adventures with Purpose. He no longer works for them. Doug is the head of the recovery search team called the United Search Corps now. He is a missing persons and cold case specialist with SAR training. You know, his mother actually went missing when he was a baby, and he found out later on that she was a victim of S trafficking. He wasn't raised by his parents. He was raised in a boy home, and he started working with Desiree Young over the summertime when he did her interview with her, when she started coming out with new information. Now, I don't know if you guys know it, but Desiree Young has went all the way down to Clear Lake, California, where Terry Horman is now, because she left Roseburg, Oregon, went down to California, and Desiree Young and her team of women have gone and protested in front of Terry Horman's house. Here recently, back in I think it was September or October of 2024, she went and protested in front of Dee Dee Spicer's house. And Doug Bishop was with her. A fight broke out between one of Kyron Horman's advocates and Dee Dee Spicer's sister-in-law. And there was a lot of stuff that was being said and stuff, but that's the pressure, the kind of pressure that Dee Dee is putting on who she believes has something to do with murdering her son. She believes they killed him. And, for 3 years on the Kyron Horman World Soldiers page, we started seeing 3 years ago that Stacy Green, the admin of that page, was posting, we now have new evidence to prove that Dee Dee Spicer killed Kyron Horman for Terry. And my community on Facebook was like, what the hell is she talking about? What new evidence? People would constantly ask her, what new evidence? What new evidence? And Stacy never talked about it. And then when Desiree Young dropped the bombshell about the photos this last summer, we were all like, oh, okay. So all these puzzle pieces started to get put together. And now we've been able to figure out what that new evidence is and everything. And it's been crazy. But Doug Bishop's been a part of this. And for a long time now, Desiree Young has said, I'm going to continue doing, all of my fundraisers and everything else, because a while back ago, instead of saying she was using the money for searches, she started saying things like, I'm going to start using that money to hire a private investigator. I haven't confirmed it and I don't know, but I believe that Doug Bishop is who Desiree Young has hired to work on Kyron's case, or maybe Doug Bishop took on Kyron Horman's case. I don't know. But I haven't heard any word of Desiree Young doing her annual car wash, which she would normally do on June. Instead, she's having a vigil for Kyron on June 1st. Normally, she would be over in Portland at the Fred Meyers, close to Skyline Elementary School, having a fundraiser to raise money washing cars. I have heard no word of a car wash. And now I'm wondering, did she take this money from these fundraisers that she's been doing for years to pay Doug Bishop, or is he just doing the case? I don't know, but I know Doug Bishop is working very, very close with Desiree Young. And I think it's amazing. He's a very smart man. He knows, he knows what he's doing. He put out a statement, and this was, January 1st of 2025, and this is so important. He talks about Kyron Horman coming up missing, and let's see, Kyron's case was the largest search for a missing person in our Oregon's state history, still is, and the largest criminal investigation in Oregon, and still is. He says here, former Multnomah County prosecutor Don Reese granted immunity to Terry's accomplice, Dee Dee Spicer, only to fail to use her testimony effectively. Despite eyewitness accounts, evidence, and evidence tampering and DA evidence that could have strengthened the case, no charges were ever filed. For Kyron's family and the community, this case has always been a symbol or of frustration and heartbreak. And then he goes on to say, this is a picture of Doug Bishop with Desiree Young in the summer of 2024 with his interview that he did. He talks about there being a broken system. I'm trying to get down to here. Modern tactics for no body cases. Forensic advancements. Trace evidence like blood, tissue, and DNA, even after attempts to destroy it, can now provide definite links to suspects. Digital footprints, GPS data, cell phone records, and online activity can paint a clear picture of a suspect's movements and intent. Behavioral analysis. Investigators analyze suspects' behaviors before and after a disappearance, such as sudden lifestyle changes or attempts to manipulate evidence. Case law precedents. Recent convictions in no-body cases provide templates for successful prosecutions. 2025 is a new era. Kyron's case stands as an opportunity to apply these advancements and build a compelling narrative to achieve overdue justice. As the fight for Kyron enters the new phase, the community's role remains crucial. Your vigilance tips support could be the missing piece of the puzzle. If you have any information related to Kyron Horman's disappearance, please contact MCSO and the attorney's office at 503-988-0560. But that's not even the best news yet. That is not. There is a bigger bombshell in all of this. Doug Bishop went on panel with Break the Case. I believe that's Jen Coffendaffer. She works with the FBI a couple of days ago. And what he had to say there blew my mind even more than all of this, more than the compiling of the case, the digitizing, everything they're doing. What he said is phenomenal. And I cannot wait to share this with you. This was the mind-blowing thing for me. Let's see. I'm going to find it. Let me play this and then we'll talk about it.
This week I posted about it, that the FBI, yes, they are always involved peripherally on cases, but they are digging their feet in on this case. Did you know about this? I'm sure you did. And give us some thoughts about where that investigation's at.
Yeah, last year, you and I got together when we put out the Kyron Horman documentary that I did with Kyron's mother. We kind of put out some information that had never been put out so that we could publicly and tactically put pressure in places that it needed to be. It's a very shocking case. And we also had an incumbent district attorney that was, preaching a good preach about what he was and wasn't going to do, which a lot of politicians, when they're in office and running for office per se, they all talk a good game, but when you get into office, does that follow through? A lot of them get into office, they have good intentions, but they get into office and they realize I can't really do that, or it's not really designed for this to play out like I intended it to. There's rules where I didn't know there was rules, or there's all of that bureaucracy. But this individual, Nathan Vasquez, was elected. His support got him elected, and he's changing things. He's been very invested into following through. He has been following through, and that has led to what you're discussing. I can't disclose too much, but they're on everything. and there should be some results that have come through this year. And what they are, obviously nobody knows, but they're long overdue. It's one of the most controversial cases in the country, with an overwhelming amount of evidence that is just absolutely shocking. And
I believe you may have even seen the evidence, and he's just like, you know, the overwhelming amount of evidence, which is huge for me.
yeah, there's FBI is involved, and they have to be. You know, that case gave out a pretty reckless immunity on a state level, immunity deal, which, you know, doesn't count on a federal level. So,
Did you hear that? Oregon State gave out an immunity deal. That immunity deal was given to Dee Dee Spicer. Guess what? On a federal level, Dee Dee Spicer's immunity holds nothing, 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 nothing. FBI moves forward on this, Dee Dee's going to go down too. It holds no power in the federal courts. Zero. This means that Dee Dee Spicer's going down with Terry Horman. I believe that this was a strategic move to hand everything over to the FBI and the BAU. Not only for behavioral analysis in a nobody case, but because of the messed up immunity deal given to Dee Dee. Desiree Young talked at Crime Fest Northwest and said she was working with the federal government to make sure Dee Dee's immunity did not stand. And this is exactly why. After I heard this, I went, of course. Oh my God, of course. There's no way it could still hold if the FBI took over. And it can't. They can go after Dee Dee, even though she has immunity. Miss Dee Dee Spicer, that this whole time has thought she was hot to trot and untouchable, is it no longer exists. I wish I knew. If Dee Dee knows now, I wish I could have seen her face when she found out, or when she does find out, that her immunity will not stand in federal court once they take this over. Like, I'm so friggin' stoked about it. I cannot stop. My mind hasn't stopped racing since I saw him talk about this 2 days ago. I'm like, are you serious? Because I believe Dee Dee Spicer is a monster. I just really believe she's a monster. Some of the pictures I have of her, my gut, when I look into her eyes, just is like, something is really wrong with her. And she is the most quietest person. She's never really talked about Kyron's case. She went out and told everybody in 2013 when she had this interview with Blink on Crime, who's a blogger, mind you, a blogger that spreads nothing but misinformation, told everybody she got an immunity deal. She passed a lie detector test, yet nobody has ever came out publicly. No district attorney, lawyer, nothing has ever came out and said that she passed a polygraph or that she even took one. But she bragged about this immunity deal. She pled the fifth to like almost 60 questions in Kyron's case. A complete messed up immunity deal handed over to her by Don Reese that will hold nothing now that the federal government has taken over. So stoked.
when the feds are involved, that's a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Good for numbers, and it's good for coming in. And I don't want to say playing cleanup. I mean, sort of playing cleanup, like as in a batting order, coming and looking at what's done and then hopefully hitting the home run at the end, because Kyron deserves justice. His family deserves justice. And, quite frankly, there's a great subject and there's a lot of evidence, and let's just hope that, the home run is hit soon.
Subjects,
Yeah,
multiple.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have Jen Coffendaffer say you have a good subject, talking about Terry Horman being, that person of interest, that suspect, that subject is what she's, but then he said subjects, two people, Terry and Dee Dee. Just unremarkable, amazing news. Yes, Death by Chocolate, thank you for coming in, love. I knew you would be here for a Kyron Horman update. And Dee Dee, your time is coming. Yes, Callie, oh my gosh, it is so amazing to hear. I cannot. Kyron Horman, I didn't think I was going to tear up. I'm so passionate about him. I have been waiting to see justice. I have been saying it for months. I can feel it. I know it's coming. I knew Nathan Vasquez was going to do his job, and he did, and he followed through. It's amazing. It is amazing to hear like that Kyron will get justice, that his family will get justice. I really hope that with the location on this phone that they can find Kyron for the family. That would be great. I don't know if that will happen after 15 years, but they're using geofencing. They're using cell phone pings. They're using all kinds of technology to try to find Kyron and search. And in that news report I showed earlier, they looked like they were searching on Sauvie Island to me. Me and my admin, Heidi, man, we were on the phone. We've been on the phone a couple times this week, and we're talking about all this information and stuff. And she's like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'm like, well, I've got my live. And she's like, I'm off work all day tomorrow. I might just have to go check out Sauvie Island and go look around. And I'm telling her this weekend, I might have to go do the same damn thing. I might have to go check it out. Although I did promise Detective Tabor that I wasn't going to be putting out any more videos on any of the recent searches because he doesn't want that information out there, which is fine. I don't want to, put out any information to hinder the investigation. But, yeah, I got to go take a look for myself. So I'm sure I'll be taking a trip over there. Plus, I got some videos I want to take anyway while I'm over there. I want to go visit the spot where they got the burner phones. I have never done a video on that, and I found out where it was. So now I want to go take a look and do a video so I can share it on my June 4th live. And I'll be doing more lives throughout the month on Kyron just to keep everybody updated and excited for my all-day live on June 4th. But I'm tickled pink. I'm excited. I finally feel like justice is going to be served. And wow. Death by Chocolate here says, thank you for advocating for Kyron and his family. I've learned so much about this case from you. You are such a beautiful soul. Oh, thank you so much, Death by Chocolate. I appreciate you. You've always been here to support me for Kyron since the very beginning, since I started my channel. Kyron is the reason I have this channel. Pandemic started. I started, researching and looking into his case more when I was just here stuck at home. And yeah, I would not be here doing everything I'm doing today without Kyron, without all of this. Mandy says, thank you for being here, by the way. It's amazing how attached we become to these victims. We rejoice when justice is served. I'll never forget how amazing it was to hear when the first case I covered, the West boys got justice. It really is. It's so exciting when something pushes through in a case. Mandy also says Kyron will get the justice too. I believe it. I do too. My heart has been for a very long time just wondering, is it going to come? Will justice ever be served for Kyron. But we know, right? We see cases 25, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and then there'll be a break, a tip, something. And then the case is closed because it takes that one small tip. One small tip in a case to break something loose. Kyron Horman, 7 years old, missing. Oh, wait, I need to make sure this is turned down all the way. Hold on. Kyron Horman missing from Portland, Oregon, from his school's science fair on June 4th, 2010. If you have any information about Kyron, his disappearance, any information about Terry Horman and Dee Dee Spicer, the Horman truck that day, please call law enforcement. The tip line for law, I'm losing my words here, guys. The tip line phone number for Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is 503-988-0560. No tip is too small. You could have the tip that breaks this case. Please, if you know anything, let law enforcement decide if your tip is credible or not. Please call law enforcement and give them a tip if you know anything. If you've been told anything by either Dee Dee Spicer or Terry Horman. If you've known something for a long time and you're holding it and law enforcement finds out, you're going down right along with them. 503-988-0560. Man, it's been such a wonderful week to hear all of this wonderful news. And yeah, arrest Dee Dee on anniversary. Yeah, that would be great. They're going to keep compiling that, digitizing it, going over it. I don't think charges are coming anytime soon. You guys did see that room full of all those folders. I mean, they have been working on digitizing it and compiling it now for a while, but I do believe that it's still going to be a while. It may not even be 2025. It could be possibly 2026. I know that Nathan Vasquez said that he will be putting out another statement in Kyron's case in fall of 2025. So we'll be able to update then. See what, they have to say. But I don't think it's going to be coming anytime soon because they have so much work to do, but it is coming. 2025, we knew was going to be the beginning of Kyron's justice as soon as we heard Nathan Vasquez was voted into office. He had already promised Desiree to work on the case, and he immediately, after becoming the new district attorney, contacted Desiree Young and had a huge conversation about him with her and what he was planning on doing. And now we know that the FBI has taken a new interest, that, law enforcement's working with, so Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is now working with the Gresham Police together too. And Gresham Police has been working on Kyron's case since the very beginning. I don't understand why the Gresham Police got involved. I don't know how that intertwines with each other. I'm still trying to find that out and have been since I started, researching the case. But it's huge because Multnomah County Sheriff's Office and the Gresham Police Department office are huge sheriff's offices that cover like huge counties over there in Portland in the Gresham area. So yeah, it takes time, but in the end, it will be worth it. Thank you for keeping Kyron's case out there, praying for a long overdue justice comes soon. Yes, me too. Yeah, Gresham is actually working with Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. It's awesome. I'm just loving seeing all this movement, all this talk. To know that Doug Bishop is helping Desiree is also really huge for me. I think he plays a huge part in all of this movement, on top of the fact that a mother, Desiree Young, got frustrated and upset and let out information about Kyron's case that lit a fire under the ass of everybody. And we recently saw that in Michael Vaughn's case. Brandy Neal Vaughn, man, she got tired of nothing happening either and released Stacy Wandra's confession to police about where Michael was, buried in the backyard of the Wandra's house. I mean, sometimes these tactics work. And after 15 years, Kyron has been missing. I can't even imagine the frustration that Desiree has. Yes, thank you, Kelly. The people we vote for matters. Please, if you don't vote, vote for one. But if you vote, know who you're voting for. Know who you're voting for. And yeah, vote for the right one. Yeah. Always angered and hurt my heart that Kyron's stepmother and her friend didn't get put in prison. Yep. I believe, you know what else too is huge? Not only are they going to go to prison, in my opinion, when all this is said and done, but if the federal government prosecutes them, they're going to federal prison. They're not going to a state penitentiary. They're probably going to end up in a federal prison. Not good look on you, Terry and Dee Dee. Now is the time, Dee Dee, to start talking to law enforcement, actually telling them what happened to Kyron and where Kyron is. Terry, same thing goes to you. Tell law enforcement, tell Kyron's family where Kyron is. One of y'all should try making a deal, is all I gotta say, because shit's going down. Y'all are going down. Your immunity deal doesn't mean squat, Dee Dee. It holds absolutely no power now that the FBI's taken over. None. Desiree Young promised you she was going to take that immunity away, and she found a way to do it. She strategically has been able to put this in a way. And don't forget, Desiree Young works with law enforcement. She teaches law enforcement how to talk to the parents and families of missing persons and missing children, because she believes that the person who interviewed Terry Horman in the very beginning messed up that interview with her, confronting her. And if they would have had the right person talking to Terry Horman, maybe Terry Horman would have given something up. Like, she was about to break, and then all of a sudden, she wasn't. And Desiree Young has made it a mission to make sure she teaches law enforcement how to deal with people of interest, so that that doesn't happen in other cases. Every time Desiree comes out and says, this is what's happening, just like she came out and said, they're digitizing, they're compiling information, just like she said the immunity thing was going to happen, then this law enforcement backs her up. Terry's supporters want to spin some other narrative, that this is just the same old stuff that they've been talking about. No, it hasn't. Law enforcement started saying different things around these anniversaries 3 years ago after the evidence was found on these burner phones. This isn't the same old talk by law enforcement. And now that Nathan Vasquez is taken over, no. Desiree Young is a very, very strong mother. She is never going to stop until there's justice for her son. Same goes with Kane. Both of these parents have been hurting for a very long time. The whole family hurts, you know. Kyron has 2 siblings, an older brother, a younger sister. And it's just been devastating for the family. And I'm excited to go June 1st to the candlelight vigil to see Desiree again, to talk to her again, and just, you know, be there to support her in this moment of huge progress in Kyron Horman's case. 15 years. McSporin, thank you for coming in. 15 years is a long time to not know anything, to not have justice for your son. Desiree Young has been persistent that Terry's had something to do with this from the very beginning. And many, many people thought law enforcement was too hyper-focused on Terry Horman in the very beginning. Well, the fact of the matter is that that's just not true. Terry Horman did this to herself. The reason they focused on her was because everything pointed at her. Everything she said, she lied about. Where she said she was and what she was doing, she lied about. Her cell phone pings, her credit cards, all put her in different locations other than where she said she was that day. She said she was out driving around trying to soothe her daughter's earache that day. Well, her daughter had already taken amoxicillin and her earache wasn't even hurting anymore. And in the areas where she was driving around are in high elevated areas along roads that are so long and windy and twisty and up at the top of mountains and such high elevations, it makes absolutely no sense that she's in the truck out running around, missing unaccounted time with no friggin' alibi for hours the day that Kyron came up missing. And she borrowed the truck and did the same thing the day before. And according to the book, she was in her hot rod, her Mustang, being seen driving around all these other areas where she was seen in her truck. That to me sounds like she may have been out there driving around, searching for a location to put Kyron. That week that he came up missing, her Mustang, her hot red Mustang with red squirrel license plate, seen all over that area. What the hell was she doing out driving around? Searching for a location, in my opinion. It's absolutely unbelievable to me that Terry Horman has still been walking free, even though when she moved down to California, she stole a car, she stole a gun. So many things that she has done, and yet walking free. And tick, 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 Terry, because your time is up. Dee Dee, your time is up. Dee Dee, you are not going to be able to just think that your shit don't stink and that you're never going to go down for anything. You think you got away with not talking and pleading the fifth. You thought this immunity deal was going to protect you forever. Don't you dare think for a minute that the reason that Terry Horman had you harm Kyron was because she has every intention on throwing you under the bus when the cuffs come. Cuffs will come, and she's going to throw you under the bus. Mark my words. I seriously believe that's what Terry Horman is going to do. Throw her under the bus, because that's why she did the murder for hire plots for Kane. So if anything ever were to come out of it, the person doing the murder for hire was going to get in trouble and not her. And not just against Kane, but against her ex, and wanting to, unalive a Kyron advocate and trying to get other people to do her dirty deeds. Because when it all comes out, Terry just wants to throw people under the bus because she's a coward. Terry Horman is a coward. Dee Dee Spicer is a monster. They're both monsters. Everything that Terry Horman has ever done in her entire life has been for herself. She only thinks about herself, and that is it. That is it. And she's done everything she possibly can to scam money out of people, to get money, stealing things from an old folks' home where she used to work, even wearing a stolen necklace that she stole from that old folks' home where she worked and wore it on the Dr. Phil show. If you guys want to know more, like I said, there are so many layers in this case. You guys have to go back and watch my lives, because I cannot tell you guys just how much Terry Horman has not only tried to control the narrative, put rumors in Kyron's case, deflected away from his case, the crazy scenarios that she will try to come up with, befriending people to try to get them to believe that she is innocent so they will fight for her because she thinks that it's going to help her in some way, shape, or form if the cuffs ever come. No. She is incredibly smart. She has degrees. She's not this ignorant person that everybody thinks that she is. This was a very, very calculated thing that she did with Kyron, what she tried to do with Kane. She's manipulative. She is mean. I could go on and on, you guys. But I won't. I want to keep this live short because I really want the replay crew to come in and watch and hear all of this great new information. She does. She sounds like a psychopath, or psychopath, sociopath. I mean, she's a narcissist. So many words that I've used to describe her. Yes, she is weak. She's a coward. It's absolutely insane. But I want to thank you guys so much for staying here, for listening to me with so much information that I had to provide to you tonight. I wanted everybody to really get the gist of what's going on here with the burner phones. I'm glad that I keep all of my Kyron information into my computer so that I could share everything. And I'm really glad Doug Bishop came and went live this last week, because that's just huge about this immunity deal getting taken away. I hope everybody enjoys their Friday night. Thank you guys for coming and supporting me, but most of all, thank you guys so much for coming and supporting Kyron and his family. I really appreciate it. I will be at the Candid Vigil June 1st. I would love to see anybody from the area. And please don't forget to become a member if you would like. Share Kyron Horman's information, hit that notification, join me for my all-day lives over the summer. We'll do an all-day live for Kyron Horman on June 4th, an all-day live for his birthday, September 9th. We're doing an all-day live on Michael Vaughn on his birthday, June 24th, and his 4th year anniversary of his abduction is July 27th, and I'll be going an all-day live for Michael Vaughn on that day also. I did get permission for Brandy, so thank you guys so much for joining tonight. I really do appreciate everything you guys do. I cannot be here doing what I do without all of you. Thank you, beautiful moderators, for coming in. And thank you, Kyron's Army, for coming and joining tonight's live. I will see you guys all on Monday. So have a good night, everybody.